Before we talk about whether all drugs should be decriminalized, let me remind you that we are here at your disposal. We are here because it's the unvarnished truth. You may not like all the issues, but please keep us on the air, support us. PayPal. Sue-Ann Levy has been around Toronto for a number of years, writing about exposing things. Just the other day, the Board of Health in the city approved a report saying they want the jurisdiction of the federal government to decriminalize all drugs in Toronto. Heroin, everything, because they say it's a health issue, it's not a legal issue. What's your response to that?
Oh, they're just so full of it. I mean, it's hard to tell whether Vancouver or Toronto are ahead of one is ahead of the other in terms of absolute looniness when it comes to drugs. I just came downtown for the first time in a little while, all the way downtown.
Right.
And the number of people weaving around, drug addicts, people looking like they need their next fix really quickly, has multiplied so much since the safe injection sites were opened.
Well, somebody would hear that now, Sue-Ann, and say, okay, well, that just shows that criminalization does not work and that we should have drugs for everybody.
So we should enable everybody to take illegal drugs. I mean, you talk about an opioid crisis, you talk about fentanyl, and so all you're doing in these safe injection sites, for example, is shooting people up with their illegal drug of choice and keeping them enabled and keeping them addicted with the poisons of their choice. Instead of pushing rehab, instead of pushing, I'm of the, strong consequences school. Get your act together, go into rehab, and, but all these leftist loons at City Hall want to keep them dependent and, enable them to continue to take illegal drugs.
I just spoke with somebody on the street about this issue, and they said, well, there'd be a lot less criminal activity. And I said, well, drug addicts do not usually work 9 to 5. Mm-hmm. And so they resort to crime to pay for their habits, for their crime, for their drugs. And she said, well, have you thought of that?
Well, exactly. And what do you think is happening around these hotel shelters? All these addicted homeless people, and we don't have a homeless problem, Stephen. We have a drug problem in the city.
If you're generally homeless, you will find a place in City of Toronto. They'll be there for you.
Yeah. So we have all these addicts going out and breaking into places, vandalism, stealing e-bikes. I bought 2 locks to make sure that doesn't happen to me, because they need to fund their next fix. So if you make the drugs legal, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have to buy the drugs from somebody. You're not going to have to find the money to buy them.
Will that be next? We're going to cut down crime, so we're going to give everybody the drugs for free.
Yes, and that's already happening in some jurisdictions, and it makes my hair stand on end.
Well, I can't express any solidarity to that about hair standing on end, but but I understand your point, Sue-Ann Levy. Thank you very much for coming on, for exposing all that stuff. Good to see you. 3 minutes. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, recently stood up in the House of Commons and prefaced his remarks by saying, and we will only work from the facts, quote, unquote, and then proceeded to lie by saying Britain was in a horrible, horrible third wave, trying to show, in fact, that Canada was not the worst in the world. Britain, though, had vaccines. Canada did not. And this was not reported in the mainstream Canadian media, the media paid for by Justin Trudeau. All of which, I'm telling you, is that it's important to have this 3-minute interview. Please subscribe, ask your friends to subscribe, and press that PayPal thing so we can continue on to bring you the news you otherwise might not know.